Your reward for watching this Monday night is no sooks, no lefties. To make that the case is none other than the co-host of The Outsiders, the host of the US Report, and a man who writes so beautifully for the Daily Telegraph. Look at him, resplendent, posing, striking a pose. None other than the great James. Lovely to see you.
Paul, great to be here, my friend.
How's Morrowland?
Morrowland is good. Morrowland is big. Morrowland is busy at the moment, but we're having a lot of fun.
Good stuff. M.Canavan also joins us, the wonderful senator who is willing to speak his mind, bash some heads together. And well done you on that productivity roundtable last week, mate. Not just open to the cameras, but common sense people. And thank goodness we got a little reminder that we aren't just out here, you know, the last Japanese soldier after World War II. There are serious people who know the world used to be much better than it currently is, and it could be still.
Exactly right, Paul. And I only had the idea for the real productivity round table, as it became known, a week ahead of time. So I thought it was a little bit late notice, but as soon as I made calls, there was just this enormous hunger from people to say the real story, to tell the cold, hard truth of how the Australian economy is going, and it is going off a cliff right now. So, look, hopefully it played a small role in ringing those alarm bells, trying to wake people up. Unfortunately, the government's round table below us was all secret. We don't know what was discussed, but basically the only outcome seems to have been a reheated coalition policy. As good as it is, it's not going to move the dial that much on the construction code. And as we'll probably talk about tonight, lots and lots more taxes coming your way.
Bloody oath. All right, adult conversation time among three people who can handle it, and well and truly an audience who is thirsty for it. This opinion poll that I showed today, and again, the Channel 9 newspapers went the long way around. I want to see a poll, simple question. Do you believe Australia should keep its net zero 2050 target, yay or nay, right? Because that is the central debate that we've obviously heard a lot on our air, that is playing out in the parliament right now, that is central to where the coalition is going to go. Barnaby Joyce, of course, is leading that debate, which apparently will now happen every Monday, the Labor Party says, until they run out of speakers. But the opinion poll that the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age and the Brisbane Times came up with was convoluted, all right? Their question, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do glasses on this, boys, but I want to get everyone across the question, OK? Both major parties support net zero emissions by 2050, but some in the National Party, I think they might be talking about you, Matt, have said that they would like to ditch the target. Which of the following do you think is the best approach for Australia to take? Try a more ambitious 2030 target that exceeds the current 43%, keep 43%, no change, reject 2030, just concentrate on net zero, reject it all or unsure. Put simply, 45% say current or higher, 29% say down or ditch it all, 26% say still to be committed. So I'm going to ask you this, Matt, from the 20,000-foot height, all right? You got 26% of people to win over. The yes case has, 5% of people to win over? How do you win this?
Well, I think those results, for anyone that's done any polling, are very, very encouraging for my side of the debate and very, very dispiriting for those who want to push ahead with this crazy net zero plan. It's getting less than half the support of the people, even with a question which is loaded and says, hey, both major political parties support this. We've seen this movie before, Paul, many times. As soon as there's a contest, the polling changes very quickly. As soon as somebody stands up, one of the parliamentary leaders, the political party leaders, stand up and says that the emperor has no clothes, very soon a lot of other people notice that too. We saw it with The Voice. We saw it with Rudd's ETS. In fact, we've seen it overseas in recent times with net zero, where in the United Kingdom, Germany, the United States, Canada, New Zealand, as soon as the political parties stood up and called rubbish on this stuff, the polling support for radical climate action has disappeared. And so, to my mind, that news story was smacked of desperation. It smacked of a small mouse trying to shout a big roar to scare off anybody looking to trample over them. Well, I think this is there for the taking, just like in The Voice, as long as a political party stands up and said, hey, how about we run the Australian energy system to lower energy prices for Australian families and businesses? How about that idea?
Yeah.
I reckon that's going to win.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but the Prime Minister disagrees with both of us here because he thinks that it's almost at that religious level now where we're into belief, past logic.
If you get rid of net zero, you are saying climate change is not real and you do not need to do anything about it.
James.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we've spoken a lot about how there's a lot of religious aspects, Paul, to the net zero debate and how so much of this maps onto Judeo-Christian morality that we have simply jettisoned and replaced with a new set of beliefs around original sin and the fall of man and the uncleanness of man that we can then just simply, take all that old wiring and put a new thing on it. Now, put that aside. I'm absolutely fascinated by this poll. And this poll is really interesting because, as you say, the question is so long and convoluted. I would have said I agree just to get the pollster off the phone. I don't understand this question by the time they go on with it. Yes. But here's another thing, too. That 44% number is identical to a number from the Resolve poll 1 week beforehand. Now, Resolve a week ago went and asked people, do you think now is the right time to recognize Palestinian statehood? 44% said no. So the fascinating thing about this, because I always love how the media treats things here, right, Paul? Right, Matt?
Yeah.
Like you got this 44%, and then, but that's not enough here for Palestine. Here, no, we're full steam ahead on Palestine because that's the narrative of the day. But then this is like 1984. This is like Animal Farm. Here we simply flip it around: 2 legs bad, 4 legs good. Yeah. Say, but this 44% here, here's the one. Yes, we all need to do everything and don the hair shirt for the climate.
Yeah, it's the real one.
Yeah, now, lads, the real 44%.
Now, lads, I want to talk about the March for Australia, all right? Because there's going to be a lot of ugliness in the way that this is going to be reported, regardless of whether there is nothing to see here or whether there's everything to see here when it comes to these rallies on the 31st of August. Now, I have said to people, be cautious about this stuff because when it's about everything, it can be very easily diluted and all sorts of nuttiness can get around something. But the organisers themselves have, on their own website, put out a flyer that is in part the information about what is going to be happening in each of the different areas. And I've got to say, it is this part where this flyer goes up that makes me now say, don't go near this thing, okay? Why? Because, yes, it's about mass migration. It's about many things that lots of very broad polls have told us many Australians have a belief in. But what's this crap at the bottom? More Indians in 5 years than Greeks and Italians in 100. That's not just about the number of people coming in, it's about who is coming in, okay? Which means the tenor and tone of this thing starts to run in an area that I'm not sure the majority of Australians are with. Which is why I'm now saying off the fence and I'm saying don't touch this with a barge pole. James?
I am just disturbed by, because I don't know if they're doing this in other cities, I'm disturbed by the idea that Sydney is now turning into Melbourne. This whole idea, the whole protest culture here that we're developing here in Sydney. I also don't like the idea of people on the right side of politics having marches, okay? I'm going to put it really, really frankly here. Winners have parties, losers have marches. That's for all of the stinky socialist people with their Hamas flags and Palestine people.
And if 200 people turn up, they go,
and if 200 people
ever talks about this.
So here's what they're going to say. They're going to say, and the thing is, we know how the media is going to lie about this. If there's 200 people, they say, oh, look, there's no support for this. If there is one single person with any sort of Nazi paraphernalia or white supremacist paraphernalia, the media. Now, we've had these marches all over Sydney and Brisbane and Melbourne where people are carrying Hamas flags. It's the guy with the Australian flag who gets arrested. So, 100%. Right? So, but you're going to have false flag operations galore. You will probably have, I'm going to be conspiratorial here, there will be groups that have been infiltrated by official groups that are going to be encouraged to show up to make this cause look bad.
And so gladly attach itself.
So I just feel like, as somebody who has a big problem and write about it, I'm going to be writing about it again tomorrow with the mass migration program and what's doing to the economics and culture of this country.
And I'm with you on all that.
we need to be very, very smart about how we talk about this, because otherwise you get dismissed as a brown shirt and a Nazi, and the media won't listen to you, and it sets the cause back by years.
Yeah, again, Matt, of the people who are of pure heart and just pissed off and about a whole bunch of issues, and they say, that's it, enough, I'm going to do what the left does each and every weekend. I understand that. But when the organisers themselves are not even dog whistling anymore and starting to compare types of people coming to the country, stay away. What are your thoughts?
Well, Paul, I was already wary about these protests because it wasn't exactly clear who was organising them and what their agenda was. Admittedly, some of those questions came from people that wasn't clear whether they were actually organising it or just simply trying to hijack it. That text you've read out from the organisers, though, shows the mask coming off. I can't support that. Look, I think our migration settings are far too high. I think we're taking in far too many people. I've said that consistently for over a year, and I'd love to support people who share that view with me. But look, at heart, ultimately, I do not believe in judging people on the colour of their skin. Simple as that. I'm sorry. If that's the sort of pathway that people want to go down, I want to have nothing to do with them. I think we should treat every human being as an individual on their own merits, and I want to take people into this country who have merits and want to build and contribute to our nation from wherever they come, and we should have settings which are calibrated to what we can provide to Australians in terms of housing, infrastructure, the like.
Well, and this is my thing, right? And I know there's going to be people who are going to start to flame me and carry on and all of the ists and whatever the crap is going to be thrown, right? But at some point, you've got to play smart here, right? And to be able to continue to have the legitimate conversation about the extension of queues, it is about the numbers of, not about the types of, right? And that's really important to have here.
And if you want to have a statistic on that, stick to this. 40% population growth this century.
Absolutely.
That's it. Just look at that.
Yeah.
You know, they come from around the world.
It's 1995.
Britain, India, Nepal, everywhere.
Correct.
But that's the thing. That's the big number.
All right. Matt, before we go, your thoughts again on that productivity summit. And again, James, you've had plenty to say about it. But again, the spectre of all of these new taxes, the government's leaving themselves that little bit of wiggle room here, there and everywhere. What do you think?
Well, I just don't think the government's got a plan here now, and particularly they don't have a plan to lower energy prices. As I made the point consistently last week and at my roundtable, other economists did the same, but the most important determinant of our future wealth is energy prices. Energy affects everything. The cost of making everything, growing everything, transport everything is determined by energy. And if this productivity roundtable had been held 3 years ago, the government would be spruiking the fact that they were going to lower our power bills by $275 by investing in all of this so-called green energy. Of course, they didn't do that, and now they've just put up the white flag. And I don't think we should accept as a nation some of the highest power prices in the world when we sit on some of the best energy resources in the world. I don't want Australia to go off into the deep night and just lose our manufacturing industry. And that's why I'm fighting for the fact that let's go back to a country, not that long ago, back to a country when we used all of our energy resources and we had some of the cheapest power prices in the world for families and for businesses.
Love you, boys. James wrote about this beautifully in the Telegraph. Alas, I have to go, but we will talk to you again in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it. All the best to you, Matt. I love this. Is exactly the way. If you're going to go to Canberra, use all of the tools you can to say what you want to say, and I think there's an awful lot of Australians, including myself, who completely back you. All right, quick break. Back with more. Philip Thompson is a man who I think has got a huge future in Australian politics. Started off as a member for Herbert after serving his country. Now he's part of the opposition front bench. He's taken the battle on the NDIS, and he's taking some of these changes with autism particularly personally. Why? It's going to affect one of his kids. We'll talk about this in a second.